Hi, and welcome to How to Grow Your Business with Kevin Willett. Today, I got my buddy Steve DeVries with us. Steve is a business coach from Focal Point. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for taking the time.
Good morning, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
So, Steve, before I ask today's question, tell us a little bit about yourself and the business.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Steve DeVries. I'm a Focal Point business coach. And so my area of focus in my practice is working with small B2B manufacturers and service providers. And so if you're an OEM, you're making a unique product or a contract manufacturer, or you are providing some service in the B2B space. And I occasionally work with nonprofits as well, but those are the types of businesses that I work with. And what I do, I help business leaders get what they want from their organization. And so what does that look like? Sometimes business leaders are stuck in their business 80 hours a week and they just want some time off, and I can help you with that. Sometimes you get in there thinking that your business is going to drive certain types of profits and you're not. I'll get in there and help you with that. Sometimes you're really good at your product or service, but not necessarily managing a team, operating an organization. I'll help you with that, and I'll help you build a strategy so that you can ultimately get what you want from that company when you want it. So I'm a trusted advisor. I become like a co-pilot with you in your business, and that's really what you should get from a business coach is someone who can be that trusted advisor that can help you get where you want to go, but you still own all of the decision making. And you just have someone to bounce ideas off of and talk you through things, give you different vantage points, different options on how to approach certain challenges in your business.
So, Steve, it was early this morning, so maybe I was just kind of giddy, but I was chuckling at a post I saw one of my financial friends make. It's the myths of bookkeeping and accounting that you only need to look at your financial statements for taxes. So if it's not April, don't even worry about it. That really doesn't make sense, right? The stronger you understand your statements, the better you can look for opportunities.
100%. I've taken on more clients that think good financial management of their business simply means that they've got enough cash in the bank to make payroll and pay their bills. And there's a whole other world beyond that. And so I learned this, early in my career. I was general manager of a business that was part of a larger organization, and I got to work with the controller and the CFO of the larger company. And I learned the power of being able to understand the financial statements and use them for decision making alongside of operational decision making. And when you can see how your P&L, your profit and loss statement, connects with what's happening in your operations, it becomes a really powerful situation. And so I've had more clients come to me who don't look at their P&L ever as a tool for business decision making and business management. And it's what you said. As long as someone's doing if they're lucky enough to have good bookkeeping, right? All they're worried about is making sure that their taxes get done right. So I've seen businesses that are trying to do the books themselves. They don't know how to be a good bookkeeper, so their books are a mess, and they end up having to pay a professional bookkeeper thousands of dollars to clean up their books. And that's what it costs, thousands of dollars to clean up a year's worth of books. And so where do we go from here? I think the most important thing is number one, having good, clean books. So if you don't have someone in your organization that really understands bookkeeping, right? Not just someone who can hopefully plug a few numbers into a spreadsheet or, drop some things into QuickBooks. You've got to have someone that understands bookkeeping. And if you don't have that, you outsource that as a service. It's relatively inexpensive, and you know that you're going to have good, clean books. Number two, start looking at those reports. All right. And for me, where I take my clients mostly is the profit and loss statement. Yes, balance sheets are important. Yes, cash flow projections are incredibly important. But what I find is there's a huge story inside that P&L that my clients are missing. Expenses creep up on them and they get out of control, and they're not seeing it broken down line by line in their P&L. They're not seeing trends when it comes to sales, right? They're not see they don't even know what their bottom line net profit margin should be. And so and when that happens, the business is very erratic, which makes your cash management erratic. And so if they don't know how to do that, and let's be honest, most small business people, they don't know how to be accountants. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a fractional CFO. I'm a business coach. But because of my experience, I can help my clients with the basics, which is learn how to use your P&L first. So we go that's like where I start with them. Once we get through like a communication, understanding their communication and behavioral style, then we're on to the financials. Because if the numbers don't make sense, nothing else matters. So they're good at their craft, they're good at their service, but they haven't had that accounting, they haven't had any of that training, and it's intimidating. So I take that away by walking them through it, right? We're doing that every single month. And at the end of each quarter, we're looking at what happened behind us. We're looking at what's coming up going forward. We're looking at historical numbers as a potential predictor of what's to come, right? And we're using that to make decisions. Do we buy certain equipment? Do we hire certain people? Do we take on a new product line and try and grow our business, right? All of those major decisions have to be looked at not just through an operational lens, but they have to be looked at through a financial lens. And that's the piece where small business owners, I think, it's one of the things that they struggle with the most. And so that's one of the things I try and help them with right out of the gate. There can get to a business can get big enough. It can get to a point where I would say, you know what, I can't be your part-time CFO anymore. You need someone that actually understands how to be a CFO day in and day out, that can help you build strategies for tax. They can help you build strategies for growth, and they can time things out more appropriately than someone like me can do. And I'll let you know when that is. But for that small business owner to start with, that's where we go. Make sure that you understand that profit and loss statement is a powerful tool.
Steve, I like that you mentioned trends because that's really important. You
Mm.
know, we went through a point where, lumber prices were escalating. And if you were quoting decks without factoring that in, you may have been doing it for free, unfortunately, and stuff. But then that brings us back to pricing.
Yeah,
And we have to raise prices from time to time.
we do.
Steve, if I raise prices, I'm going to lose all my clients. They're not going to pay an extra 5%. And when you look back on it after you've done it, most of your people, like everyone raises prices, Kev, no big deal. We understand. But you
Yeah.
sometimes you're just really afraid.
Well,
What do you,
so if you're afraid of raising prices before you raise prices, right? So let's understand what's driving your costs, right? So you have to give your employees a raise, once a year, right? So obviously your labor is going to go up, but do your materials have to go up? Are there opportunities in your overhead to control costs that way? Because there's a few levers that we can pull in order to help keep our costs down, which may help you reduce your price increase or not require it altogether. Or here's a funny idea, save money and still raise your prices, to an acceptable, modest level. And now all of a sudden, all of that extra revenue is dropping straight to your bottom line because you've reduced your costs at the same time. That's the ultimate win, right? I would tell people try and raise your prices every single year to condition your clients to do that. 2, 3%, maybe 5%, depending on the situation. But if you wait and you wait and you wait, and then all of a sudden you try and have this bullwhip effect where you're trying to raise prices 10, 15% because you haven't done it in the last 3 years, that's when you're going to lose customers, or you're at least going to open the door for them to go shop.
yep,
In the meantime, you should have been doing that in the first place with your own suppliers, right? With your own cost structure, when it comes to operating expenses. There's so much in your P&L once you get below that revenue line, that gross profit line, and you start looking at where all the rest of the money is going out before you get to that bottom line, there's all kinds of goodness in there. There's probably a lot of low-hanging fruit that you can grab onto and reduce from your costs. And that's what a lot of clients aren't doing. Small business owners aren't thinking about that. They're only thinking about their direct labor and their direct material costs. And there's a whole other part of your business that's sucking money out that is potentially going to impact how much you have to raise your prices. So manage your business better first before you just start haphazardly passing on prices to your customers, right? We see that with tariffs. People got tariffs. They didn't try and work on their supply chain. They didn't, they didn't go into the rest of their business looking for areas to cut costs before they raised prices. They just passed it on, right? Sometimes they worked it into a price. Sometimes they just had a surcharge. Um, I think that's kind of lazy, right? There's a lot of opportunity to offset that. And getting back to your financial statements question, which started this conversation, that's where you go to find that information. And if you're not quite sure how to do it, hire a fractional CFO or work with your bookkeeper. Most bookkeepers now offer some kind of service where they'll walk through numbers with you. Hire a business coach, right, that has some relevant experience in the type of business that you've had that can help you learn and look for opportunities on how to save money in your business.
Steve, if people have questions about this topic, what's the best way to reach out to you? How can they learn more, my friend?
Yeah, I always try and drive people to my LinkedIn page. My profile is Steve DeVries 7551. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. You can go to my website, stevedevries.focalpointcoaching.com, or just give me a call on my business line, 603-277-3288.
Steve, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to call to show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Kevin.